Welcome to episode 162 of Girl Take the Lead, where each week we explore womanhood and leadership. And I'm your host, Yo Canny. This is part two of a two-part series with Hannah MacDonald, where she covers her thoughts about job searching and skills to obtain, particularly around AI, a super interesting topic. And if you didn't listen to part one yet, Hannah is the author of 4 books, which she has published, a sought after public speaker to help others connect with Gen Z workers, and is a partner in her family business about staffing called the Better Together Group of Companies. Enjoy the listen. Here you go.
Pre-COVID, it was an employer's market. They had all
Yes.
of the control. And then COVID happened and it was an employee's market and they had all the control. And now we're shifting somewhere in between and we're trying to find a balance. But the employees have gotten a taste of what that feels like. And so they're desperately trying to hold on to it. And then the employers are used to what the norm is for them having that 100%. And they're frustrated by the others who are now experiencing some of the alternative. And so it's not only is it a battle of who gets what, but it's a battle against if either side should have anything. So it's a really funny, like, people are mad at each other and people are mad that people are mad. So it's
It's what
it's a
great
funny
insights you just
balance.
gave. Those are great insights, Hannah. Those are really, really good. I think you have, because of your business and your clarity about who you are, you can definitely see some ways for people to navigate and to move. I'm wondering what you would tell younger generations about finding employment today. I mean, what would you say? What advice would you give them?
Hmm. What do you mean? Do you mean how to get a job, how to show up, or kind of how to approach careers? Because there's kind of a couple different things I could take that way.
Well, how about I kind of like the career, like how to build their career, because younger generations are like, my strategy was I got really good at doing new products, that kind of, and branding was my way to go. And I became very good at that. Um, with younger
Your branding
generation,
is quite impressive. The purple hair, might I say? My word.
but I think younger generations in building their careers have, I mean, I guess I could say I followed my passion, but they have an opportunity to not just build their careers based on, earning money
Mhm.
and earning more money at the next job, which can also be a strategy for moving, right? I mean,
Mhm.
some people move around because of that, but I'm just wondering what advice, career wise, you would say.
Oh, I've got so many different pieces. Okay, let me give you like tiny snippets of a couple different areas.
Yeah.
The first thing I would say is branding is so important as a personal employee. Just what you said is so true. A company's Instagram page is not the same as your Instagram page. A company's LinkedIn profile is not the same as your LinkedIn profile. And so you as a human have so much power to grow and build your own brand and network right now that is insane. So take advantage of that while you can, no matter what field you're in. Second thing I would say is if you've never considered a trade before, look into trades. There is going to be a really, really scary, I'll use that word, scary shift in the white collar world in the next decade, the next 2 decades, the next 3 decades. I have no idea what it's going to look like. As AI continues to transition and form, so many of these jobs are going to be completely changed forever. And so, trades specifically, there is a lack of tradespeople in this world, and they are paid so well. And they get the opportunity to have so much flexibility and balance in their own life. That's really important that people take the opportunity before this all happens to look at it and go, maybe that would be really good for me. Because I remember when I was in high school, I looked at everyone who was in body shop, I looked at everyone who was in wood shop, and I was like, what are you doing? How lame, how boring. And now, as someone who works in staffing, I can tell you those are the best jobs to have. People are always looking for someone with a red seal of any sort, and you'll be in demand forever.
Mm.
The last thing I would say is be creative about how you're approaching your job. There are so many people applying for jobs right now. It is an employer's market. There are way more employees looking for work than there are jobs available. And so come at it with a very creative perspective, meaning don't just send in a cover letter and a resume like you're doing to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of job applications every day, because that's sitting at the very bottom of a pile and it's getting read in unison of 100 other resumes that look just like it. And that is so easy to get lost up in
Mm.
the mundane of everybody else's verbs and nouns and just words screaming at your recruiter through pages. But rather, I would encourage you to put a picture in there. To, if let's say, for example, I love the example of a receptionist. Seems like such a very basic, simple job. You're like, I hate this term, just a receptionist. You're never just in anything.
Mhm.
You were a receptionist and you had the opportunity to make a difference in that company while you were there. So, what did you do? Did you re-coordinate their file folders? Take a picture of it. Is it beautiful? Put it on your resume. Bring it in with you. Of course, assuming that it's not confidential information and you're not ruining lives here, but like
Right.
take that piece of information, move it forward and showcase it. Make it beautiful and make it stand out for what it genuinely was rather than letting it go to wayside in your last job. And then, okay, I actually have one more additional piece because just an extra bonus. Um, if you're not going to look at trades and you're so focused on a white collar job of some sort, any type of office role, I would encourage you to be functional in AI and functional with people. As we progress forward, it's going to be so easy for people to choose one or the other. But people who have both are going to create much more stability for themselves in the future.
I
Those
love
are kind
that.
of those are
Yeah.
sorry, that was like real rapid fire. I'm like fire hydrant you. But yeah, those are kind of the tips that come to the top of my mind.
Yeah, because I've some people I talk to are so fearful of AI, and
Mm.
yet I'm having a blast with it. I use it to help me
Good for
get
you.
get titles of my podcast episodes. And I had a
Yeah,
friend tell me recently, I really like your titles. And I'm like, yes, I know. I have a secret weapon, you know.
that's so
Um,
good.
but I mean, sometimes your brain's just too tired to think anymore, and you just need a little help. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm the worst speller on the planet for an author. It's ridiculous. It's like embarrassing. But ChatGPT, my great friend, she auto checks everything for me. It's
I
great.
know
It's like
I'm
it's
with
just
you.
those little things that it's like super beneficial. Don't be scared of it. Just learn to use it.
I also think, like for doing presentations and for outlining key points, um, it can help you think through things. I mean, but I can get what you're saying. We have to follow what's happening, and I'll have to send you this in case you haven't seen it already. But there's a comedian who's doing um, interviews with like Homer Simpson using AI,
Oh,
and
really?
the voice, like the situation is she must plug that in to get the persona. And her podcast is only like a minute long, but she's got these interviews that are all AI generated. And it cracks me up, because it's like them talking about, well, what do you think of when Marge did that? Did that hurt your feelings? And it's like you have to remind yourself that this is made up, that this is, but to me, that was like, oh, I love this idea. There's going to be, I guess, because I love the creativity and the curiosity. And I think what I also hear is like, those are important skills to always have in your repertoire, no matter
Mm,
your
yeah,
career or your business or whatever those to me are the ones to really invest in if you can. And then they lead to
yeah.
courage and a lot of other things as well.
Yeah,
But
I really like that. One of my first managers who made a massive impact on kind of how I try to lead is he said, always go to curious.
mm,
Just never assume anything. And it's funny, my eighth grade teacher shared something with me that I can't share now because it's not appropriate. But if you spell it out, there's three words in it.
uh,
There's one that is the assume, and there's the you, and then it's don't assume because it's gonna make a fool out of you and me.
that's right.
Um,
Right.
and it's just so funny. It's like always go back to curious. If you ever assume something, like it's never gonna leave you in a good place. But if you start with curiosity, it's like it just opens up so much room for so much more conversation.
So, I mean, what did you think of this idea of using AI to interview somebody in a podcast?
I think that humans have much more interesting conversations because we have emotions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is a time and place for everything. And if it's offering information to people, or if it's funny, or if it's entertaining in some sort of
Entertainment.
way,
Yeah.
then all the power to it, right? But I would be very curious to understand how like royalties behind that work. I don't
I
even
know.
know.
I
That's so
wondered about that too,
curious.
because I went, but I guess if it's AI generated, there isn't copyright issues or anything like that. I don't know, but it gets complicated, doesn't it? The
It
questions that
does.
come up.
It does. I attended
Mhm.
a seminar about that recently, and he was talking about just like the differences of every single, I think it was every province because I was in Canada, but how every province and every state are so different and everybody's regulations on it are different. I'm like, no one understands anything about this yet.
I know.
It was
So,
very scary to
so
see
my
what happens.
darling. Oh, real quick. I mean, maybe you can tell our listeners about your podcast because I think they'd love to check it out.
Yes, talk about trying to connect people to information. So I think that the staffing world has opened me up to so many different kinds of jobs. And the examples that I love to give are, oh my gosh, there was this one time I heard about a job where it was a truck driver running through a chicken coop trying to catch the chickens to put on the truck to drive across the country. And I was like, what kind of job is that? Or the other day, I was talking to somebody who's a scuba diver who goes from pool to pool to pool across Florida just trying to inspect for leaks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that person just gets to swim and be in the sun all day. How amazing. And as a kid, I never heard about any sort of jobs that were crazy like this. We were still strictly a driver agency at the time, and that's really all I knew. So outside of that, the world beyond that staffing industry, I was like, there you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher, you can be a firefighter, or you can be a cop. And that's like those were the ones that I had kind of always thought about because those are the ones that are pushed in front of children forever. So I wanted to create a resource where people could go and learn about lots of different types of jobs. So I've done two series now. The first one was on women in male dominated industries. That was really cool. We did, oh my gosh, some really interesting ones with a pilot. We did one with a public speaker. We did one with a truck driver. We did, well, like they're so cool and so exciting to sit and talk to these women just about the craziness that they're taking in their industry. I talked with one of my best friends from childhood who's currently a nuclear scientist, and I broke down in tears on the podcast because I was like, I can't believe she works on finding cures for cancer. And he was like, this is so
Mm.
cool, but children don't know about any of these things and all of the insaneness that they could be doing. And then the second one was all about Gen Zs in the workplace. So as I've kind of gone through different presentations in different places, I've had lots of questions about the next generation, who they are, what they do, and why they do it. And so that was kind of who that was for. It was all about the Gen Zs, why they're making the decisions that they're making, what they're going to do about the decisions that they're making, and how that kind of impacted their life moving forward. And then to just kind of try and debunk some of those myths. So it's
Oh,
all about employment, but with some different series through the way.
yeah, so interesting. And I know it's on Spotify.
Yes,
So,
only on
listeners,
Spotify.
make sure you check that out. I think you've given our younger generations terrific advice, but what would you tell your own 20 something self today?
I think that I would tell my younger self, oh, you know what? I read this quote today and it was really, really good. Your life is being written out in chalk, not
Mm,
in ink. And it can feel like life is in ink all the time. Like the decisions that you're making, you can never step away from. But realistically, you can always pivot one
mm,
way or another.
mm.
And so just take it one day at a time because as intentional as you can be, as crazy as you can be, and I am crazy and intentional about everything in the future. I swear I'll have everything mapped out to the day that I die. But also, if something changes,
Yeah.
something changes. Like that's so outside of my control. And so just do what you can do, but don't freak out. Life's not an ink.
Yeah. Do you think you'll do another book? Get another
Oh
book
my
in you?
goodness. Yeah, so I published one last night at 1:30 in the morning, ironically.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is super exciting. That one was a smaller leadership course book that helps walk people through what it means to be an accidental leader. So that was just all about like people go through life and they kind of fall into leadership. People tend to come to them. They've maybe never had leadership training in their life, but they're like, people are always depending on me and coming to me, and I just don't know what to do about it. So this is for them, that person, just to kind of give them the little snippets and pieces of information that can support them along their journey. And then I've actually done two other books as well. One all about how to find a job, how to find a place to work that you love every day, just kind of tips and tricks through. And then one was just a workbook for employers, all about how to find an intentional, intense, and integrity filled candidate. And so that was kind of the other one. So I guess I'm at four now. But I
What?
would love to write another memoir, like another like thick boy for sure in the
Yeah.
future.
Oh, I would love that. I mean, I just think it's so terrific because, once we pass through those years, we don't see it the same way.
Hmm.
And what I'm going to write at, you know, my birthday is coming up and I'll be 70. So what I'm going to write at 70 is so different when I go back and look at my journals from when I was 20 something myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was so preoccupied with boys, dating, and broken hearts, and recovery from them. Um, and you're not that anymore. You like your person is revolving all the time. So if you can capture that moment in time for yourself and just kind of nail it down on what's happening in your memoir at that point, I think that's wonderful to do. Then your
Mm-hmm.
story, you have an account of the story from that particular point of view.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually like a really good note as well because while I've been able to do a bunch of stuff in the last few years and it's been phenomenal, I can genuinely say that if I had not been with my person through that, I don't think I would have been able to do any of it
Mm,
because before finding Grayson, who's my husband, I was very scared of being seen as too much. I was like, boys, and they were boys, um, won't be able to take me. I was like, they can't handle all of this. Someone who wants to own a business, someone who wants to write a book, someone who wants to do this and that and start public speaking and do podcasts, whatever it was at the time, whatever it is today. I was like, they're not gonna like that. And so I was so, so scared to be my like fullest self in those moments. And then
Mhm.
once I found somebody and felt secure in that, I was like, "Oh, I can be anything I want to be. That's crazy." And I felt this freedom and sense of like excitement to go out and be exactly who I was.
Mm.
Um, but maybe actually I would change my answer from ink and chalk to what was I doing? Trying to chase boys? My word, that's embarrassing. No, don't let anything like that. Don't let the perception of what you want other people to think about you
Yeah.
stand in your way of doing what you need to do. That's
Ugh,
definitely what I would change it to. Absolutely.
okay. I agree. I think that's a great one and probably a great place to end our episode today.
I
Hannah,
think so
we could
too.
go talking longer. I mean, we could have gone for hours here.
I think so
So
too. Or bring your girls in next time. We'll
yeah,
have
exactly.
a big chat across the board. This was so fun. Thank you for having me on. It's
And
been a
thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening today, and we sure hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please leave a comment wherever you listen to your podcast. Tell a friend about us, join our public Facebook group, Girl Take the Lead, or visit our website, girltaketheleadpod.com. We also have a YouTube channel where your subscription would be appreciated. Once you're on YouTube, search at Girl Take the Lead. And we've recently expanded to YouTube Music where you can see the video version of this episode. And here are the three takeaways from the series. One, remember the three I's from Hannah's dad: intensity, intentionality, and integrity. Two, imposter syndrome doesn't need to be a stop sign, but can be a warning light to be cautious and intentional. And three, don't let the perception of what you want other people to think about you stand in your way of doing what you need to do. Our next episode will involve returning a guest to the show, Nicole Trick Steinbach. You may remember Nicole from episode 113, and that was titled Dare to be Brave, Conquer Fear, and Learn Bravery as a Skill. You might also remember that she has a very successful podcast called Build Your Brave Career. One of the great things about podcasting is I get to meet incredible people like Nicole. And she mentioned in one of her newsletters that she loved the book Quit: The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away by Annie Duke. So I got it, and she accepted my invitation to return and discuss some of the key points from the book together for this episode. Adam Grant had this to say about Annie Duke's book, quote, will help you figure out when to persist and when to pull the plug. And Seth Godin said, quote, there aren't many times you will say, this book has changed my life. This is one of them. And boy, did Nicole and I have great fun diving in, finding our own insights, and then discussing them together. So don't miss this juicy episode. Thanks for being here and talk to you soon. Bye.